And those of you who want to take back perhaps just some bit of information, I'll give you 5 bits of information. This is not revolution, because everything we need to know about improving schools, about getting little Johnny, Maria, and Tyrone to read and compute is already known. This is no longer a skill set deficit. It is not that we don't know what to do. It's a will set proposition. Do we have the courage to do the right thing, to take on the sacred cows, to impose children as the tip of the spear in all of our decisions? And districts that do not perform don't do that. So number 1, leadership. Leadership matters. Principals are the captains of the education industry. They are in schools. Now, I'm going to whisper this because some people get really upset. I have fired, replaced over 80% of all principals in the 4th largest school system in America. And I don't apologize for it, because when I became superintendent, many of them were somebody's cousin, somebody's friend. They did not believe in kids. I remember bringing in the 9 principals of the 9 schools that were on the threat of being shut down, and I asked each one of them, I said, brother, tell me, why don't you have AP classes in your high school? And one after the other told me, we would love to, because we believe all kids can learn. I said, okay, that's great. Let's, next paragraph. He said, I'd love to have AP classes, but I don't have kids for that. Anybody who tells you you don't have kids for that, you don't have a position for them. And I fired 9 of them. I almost got fired myself, because in 90 years we had not fired the principal, and I fired 9 within the first 2 weeks. And here's what I know. Fire will be thrown at you, but once you get past that fire, you get a little singed. Your hair is smoking. Your skin is a little bruised, but you get calloused. And the next time you have to go through that, it doesn't hurt as much. 80% of the principals are different today than they were then. We recruited the very best across the country, instructional leaders who understand pedagogy, who understand the art and the science of teaching, of evaluating, of analyzing, of coaching, of mentoring. Secondly, not teacher quality. I don't even understand what teacher quality means, but I know teacher effectiveness. You can have all of the qualifications in the world, all of the titles in the world, and not be able to teach a child. You may be able to teach chemistry and physics, but not kids. And I don't need people who teach to the board. I need people who teach kids. So I look for teacher effectiveness. I look for people who were able to do it elsewhere, have great preparation, and can demonstrate it. Often before you get hired, you have to perform. There's an audition. Why not? I mean, do you really want to gamble on something that important, hiring somebody for the next 30 years to impact thousands of a waiting audience without knowing how good they are? I don't. So teacher effectiveness is important. The third element, safety nets. Here's what I know, folks. Behind every single achievement gap across the country, in any city, in any district, there are preceding opportunity gaps. If our children can't read by 3rd grade, it's because there are opportunity gaps before them from birth. Poverty, family disconnect, broken homes, violence in the streets, disability, immigration fears, all of that. Now, even adults, if they face one of them, we complain, we go to the doctor. We have millions of children across America who fall into not one, but all of the opportunity gaps, and we expect them to do just fine. So here's the solution. In Miami-Dade, we decided to address the opportunity gaps before kids get to us, creating safety nets around the poorest, most challenging and challenged neighborhoods, where poverty and crime, where broken homes and broken zip codes are most prominent. You see, some people mistake equality with equity, and they believe that all kids ought to be funded at the same level. No. If you start here and I start here, and you give me the same treatment, we're always going to be like this, the so-called achievement gap. The way to close it is you need to provide inequitable investment, resource, treatment, aggressively to reach equality in terms of opportunity. And by the way, public education, free public education, does not do a damn thing unless you create equity and you create access, unless you see yourself as an architect of hope and opportunity. If you miss those four ingredients, you get nothing and you get nowhere. So follow me. Leaders, teachers, safety nets. Safety nets means health clinics in every school. Safety nets means universal pre-kindergarten, high quality, all day long for every single child. Safety nets means City Year in our schools as interventionists, as mentors. Safety net means delivering kids with the next important element, which is digital access. Look at you. Some of you are like, you got your phones up in the air, and that's one phone, and then you have two iPads, and you have a laptop computer at home. I mean, how connected do you need to be, right? But we can't help it. We love the stuff. Our kids do too, and here's my proposition to you. In this hyper-connected society of today, the digitally disconnected is initially at a terrific educational disadvantage, over time, an economic disparity. And there are digital deserts across the country. And by the way, those digital deserts happen to be in the same zip codes where the poverty is high, where families aren't married, where kids have siblings who are in jail, where the crackling of gunfire is more prevalent than the chirping of birds in the morning. So in Miami-Dade, we lost our minds because as we saw those F schools in the African American community going from F to D to C to A, graduation rates actually increasing from 36% to 60, 70, 80, 90%. As we saw the graduation rate of this large, urban, very poor district exceeding the state average and then outperforming the wealthier districts. As we saw the first inner-city high schools in the state becoming A-rated. As we saw our NAEP scores first matching and then surpassing the state and the nation. As we saw our 4th and 8th graders becoming #1 in reading in the country. As we saw our district win the Broad Prize. As we saw our district expand choice to over 500 magnet programs. As we saw our district getting to 64% of our children enrolled in non-traditional programs. Then we had enough to go to the people and say, will you invest in this rising stock? And in the middle of the recession, we put a bond referendum before the people. 72% of the people said yes. Republicans, Democrats, men, women, black, white, Hispanic, everybody voted for it. And we ushered in not only new schools, renovation, but a $250 million investment in technology. Every school is Wi-Fi, every child is getting a computer, digital content, it is the reality. And for the poor kids, they take the devices home through us with Wi-Fi access. Because you build inequity if you force children to stop learning with the last bell, while others continue learning 24/7. And the last one, my friends, the last one. All of this is for naught if all we do is prepare our kids to graduate 12th grade. If there's no guarantee that that 12th grade is an enabler for post-secondary success or the world of work, you condemn them to a life of poverty.